Alrighty, so today I'll be the temporary host for this meeting. Can everybody already see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Okay, if we want to start with, I guess, the first part of this meeting for going through our notes here. Uh, I don't know if Andrew is here to talk about the TEE comparison table.
No, I can take that. Andrew is on PTO or on vacation this week. We started this in the very first meeting, the discussion about creating a comparison table. Andrew actually started us, kicked us, jump started us, right? I guess would be the best term to use it, with an AI generated spreadsheet. Um, I actually think that, it was mistaken or hallucinating in a lot of things. So I decided to massage it to the best of my ability. Um, but it's still, there's still some things that could be improved in there for sure, right? I think that there might be some attributes that we are missing. If anyone has an opinion of anything that can be added to the table that would help us understand where we are, um, we can figure out. What is the spread of? What is the spectrum of differences in between all of the architectures and all of the distros? Um, and if there is anything wrong that I am it's inaccurate or needs clarification, feel free to ping me, tag me on the spreadsheet or anyone, right? If anyone has better information about that, and then we can continue working it out and massaging it until it is something usable. Um, the biggest clarification that I guess I added here was about VTPM support. So VTPM support is still um, very much in the works in all the platforms. The original spreadsheet here had the VTPM support as enabled in all platforms, and this is a common mistake because we do support VTPM today in KubeVirt, in other platforms, but that is implemented through a third-party process in the host, and that will be inherently insecure, right, in a confidential VM. So that is not an option. And because if you think about it, a VTPM is really not usable in a confidential VM if it's not secure, right? Because it's a secure device inside a VM. So we were telling that in a secure VM, the VTPM is insecure. It's an oxymoron, right? It's not something that I guess we should be advertising or even considering as an option, right? Using an unsecure VTPM in a confidential VM. So I decided to refactor that row and a couple of other rows here, added more information. Anyway, there are other tabs in this spreadsheet that I haven't had the time to visit and process yet. But I'll be happy to continue. Working on those if there is value in this type of comparison between the platforms, etc. Okay.
I have a question. Would we want to add other OS distributions in this table as well, or why were these two selected?
I think this is just how the Gen AI decided to do, but sure. I think it's mostly. I'm not a resident member of the KubeVirt community. I operate mostly in the operating system and the platform level. So I'm just trying to facilitate here for the KubeVirt community this adoption. But I guess
Okay.
it would ultimately be something for the KubeVirt community to decide on what are the targets that you guys are usually looking at, right? And using on your CI and that type of thing. I think those could be good candidates here for uh, readiness comparison, right?
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm fairly new to the community, so I'm not totally sure to that.
I
Anyway,
just
it's
wanted to add.
completely grassroots. So I mean, add what you want, fix what you want. It's version controlled. So as long as we are, I would suggest, I mean, add yourself as a contributor instead of using just the anonymous link that I shared, and that can help us tracking changes better, right? And then, I mean, once that is done, I mean, go wild. I mean, add what you want, change what you want, and we can keep reviewing that until we converge.
I just wanted to add that on the NVIDIA side, we are using the open drivers with confidential compute and attestation, but with IOM and UFD. So because in the doc only the proprietary drivers are mentioned, and I'm actually not even sure they support confidential compute.
Yeah, this is an area where I made a few assumptions because I'm not super acquainted with that. So, Roman, I mean, if you have more information, please add. Uh, as
Mhm.
we discussed, I guess in the very first meeting, I had that, I mean, a little homework to go investigate what is the IOMMUFD status on LibVirt. And I mean, changing topics a little bit, but I guess this is important. I was told that it's complicated. I mean, that's the that's the summary version, right? Um,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I think like I mean on QM level it is supported to a degree that it works with TDX and NVIDIA GPUs. That's what we are
Uh-huh.
using at the moment. So I also understand like it's not complete in the kernel, but it's at least with the the kernel patches and the QEMU patches. Well, actually, there are no the QEMU patches do not include IOM and UFT changes. I think it should be in QEMU to a degree where it's working with the GPUs,
Okay. Maybe
but
we should duplicate the column talking about the NVIDIA and just make it, I mean, NVIDIA with proprietary and NVIDIA with open drivers. I wasn't even aware that NVIDIA with open drivers was an option here.
yeah, it's actually
So,
the only thing where I can even I like we also got from NVIDIA only the open driver guides. So I was actually looking if there would even be some confidential compute guides for proprietary drivers. I can't even find one. So and also like we did security reviews on the open drivers regarding to how it's establishing the secure connection and everything. So that's what we are using. And also the
when you say
NVIDIA.
open drivers, is the open source version for, but because I wasn't even aware NVIDIA had, I mean, open source drivers.
Yeah,
Honestly, I
they're on
mean,
GitHub.
instead of Novo, things like that, right? Which is,
Yeah, they're on GitHub. So like we the like for instance right now the confidential compute guide is referencing the 570 drivers open and they're on GitHub. Yeah. And they're now also shipped. They also shipped in Ubuntu and so on. And there's a version where Intel is cooperating with NVIDIA on Ubuntu with canonical and long-term support on that. Should all be
okay,
open
but
source
you're
this
calling
time.
them open drivers, but they're not open source drivers, right? Those are proprietary drivers, right? Or at least out of three drivers.
Yeah, they're out of tree, but they're open
Oh, they're
source.
open. So I guess we're talking
So
about the same set of drivers. We're talking about the Enforce 570 type, I mean, series of drivers, right? For H100, H200.
yeah, so there's the open GPU kernel modules and like let me just share the link. I mean, I may also mix just something up. It's not like I followed the compilation paths through.
Mhm.
But I just need to join the call
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
with the.
we are at Hat Hat. I mean, it's maybe it's our own terminology, maybe it's I mean, our own jargon here. We don't call that driver open, probably because we can't ship it. I mean, it's not upstream yet in the kernel, so we don't ship it, we don't touch it. Um, so we call them, I mean, simply proprietary drivers for maybe historical or simplification reasons, right?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, it's also not like they're always. I think there's definitely at least a delay until when they get updated or get published. Like, but I don't know. It's at least like we could like all the attestation paths and everything are there in the kernel as well.
Okay. All right.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, and it's
the more
based. Yeah,
clarification we add, the better. I mean, we can do it here or I mean, in the spreadsheet. I mean, I guess it would be better. Um, the the important point, I guess, for us is um, apparently, I mean, the current IOMMUFD is able to tolerate that set of drivers, essentially because that set of drivers are doing encryption using a bounce buffer on its own, so it's not actually needing anything else than that. Um, but if we think about upstream, I mean, general support for trusted IO upstream, it's gonna need more than that. And then I guess we are still very far away from actually having a more general support upstream, right? It's
yeah.
part, yeah,
I guess it depends on the goals which we have. Like, if we want to bring something for H200, for instance, I don't think they. Well, maybe. I'm not sure they can even get TDIS, but I think that's just something for Blackwell. But they
yeah.
still have confidential compute and it works so or IOMMUFD as well. So like for as long as we don't have that, at least we cannot support these cards in KubeVirt, at least.
Yeah, and the upstream community around IOMMUFD is, I mean, is in this weird limbo where it's apparently not appropriate right now for a couple of things we do. There's something else, I mean, being developed to replace it, but that is not ready either. And I guess we will be on this limbo until I mean we actually have hardware and upstream implementations for trusted IO in upstream kernel. So it's complicated, right? The whole discussion about this is complicated. I guess if we want to have NVIDIA support sooner rather than later, we will need to go into a path of, let's say, uh, implementing it the way it is right now and conceding that it's going to be that code in a few years, right? And we're going to need to go back and redo how we do device assignments and all of that because it's going to change once the more general approach for trusted IO hits the upstream kernel and start cascading down into userland as well.
Yeah, so like what I did right now, for instance, is just setting a huge set of QEMU pass-through arcs to add them via AOMMUFD. So yeah, I definitely understand what you mean.
All right. Well, I think we talked about this particular item enough. I don't want to bore everyone else to death here. So,
Uh, Not even a little bit. But I do want to, I guess, go on to the next bullet here, platform status. Is there anything that we need to cover in
no,
this specifically?
I added
Okay.
this just for your, I mean, for general information that the host kernel patches were finally for TDX and SMP were finally added to kernel 6.15, which is, I guess it's out or it's gonna be out soon, whatever. It was one of the, I mean, final stages of releasing. Um, so that has also, I mean, cascaded down to merging of, I mean, the support patches for QEMU. They got added to QEMU 10.1. QEMU 10.1, I think, is expected to be released like sometime in August or early September, just in time for KVM forum in September. And libvirt patches are apparently still in flight. But talking to Daniel Beranger, I mean, he's very confident that, I mean, they are uneventful and not controversial at all. So he expects them to just be merged once, I mean, the QEMU patches are a little closer to GA, a little closer to actual being released. Daniel also worked on the SGX decap packages for Fedora and CentOS Stream. Those are user length dependency for TDX that needs to be in the host. So those are slowly moving into the platform, right? At least in Fedora and CentOS Stream, I mean, those are slowly moving into the platform support. Realistically speaking, I think for KubeVirt to be able to consume that, we're talking, I don't know, maybe CentOS Stream sometime in September. Fedora and CentOS Stream maybe sometimes in September. We should have, I mean, those packages in the distribution, so KubeVirt could use them on top of it. Right?
Wait, I kind of missed that. How would KubeVirt consume it?
Well, install it on top of, I mean,
Oh,
Fedora or
okay,
CentOS
okay.
Stream. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm thinking about, I mean, I guess CI and I mean, actually being able to merge some of the in-flight patches here, I guess maybe depending on, I mean, a platform being able to tolerate them, right? The KubeVirt patches. Right now, I think Canonical might be able to tolerate them, but Fedora, CentOS Stream, they're not yet there. So just
Okay. And then, do you know what the status is for ARM-CCA?
no idea. I mean, I added this as a question mark in the hopes that someone from ARM or IBM, I mean, can bring a little more light into where are we with CCA and IBM Z Secure. So I
Doesn't seem like we have anybody, but we can put this maybe in the channel.
yeah, the main one of the biggest well, and the biggest issues with ARM CCA is that I haven't seen any actual vendor declaring they are building a ARM CCA chip and with a roadmap, right? Um, there might be a couple of cloud providers working on ARM CCA chips, but it's going to be interesting or it's going to be difficult to consume that in communities such as Fedora and even KubeVirt, I guess, if they are not a generally available platform that we can buy and deploy to a data center and run CI on top of it, right? So I guess, I mean, I'm just trying to anticipate a few challenges here ahead for ARM CCA support if this is not on a general purpose platform that we can have access to, right?
That makes sense.
In IBM Z Secure, I think, I mean, we will need IBM to essentially do all the work, right? Because I don't think anyone else is, I mean, um, working on that. So
Okay, so I guess we'll wait on that then. I guess the next part is the in-flight proposals. We have an enhancement proposal for SEV SMP support. This is actually mine, and same thing for the PR. I was taking a look at the Intel TDX that was made available a couple days ago, I, right here on this one, and I just have a question for everybody. Is this kind of the new way we want to do launch security? Like, would I add one here for AMD specific? Currently, we have one for SEV. Would we deprecate that and put vendor specific ones like Intel or AMD?
yeah, I honestly don't think we have the people here. Matthias, I guess, so this is the one that authored this. And this was the discussion that we had at the very first meeting with Vladik and others about, okay, are we going with, I mean, the API here is going to be specific for each hardware choices, or is there anything we can do to make it more common, right? This particular tag, in my opinion, I mean, it looks pretty generic. I would, I mean, again, I'm not a member of the KubeVirt community, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. I would see, I mean, it's an opportunity for simplification here. Just call it, I mean, I don't know, TEE or confidential VM, or I mean, something more generic than TDX or SNP, right? It's, I mean, at least so far, they share a lot of the common properties, I guess, right?
Yeah, but wouldn't that cause like some kind of confusion between people seeing all these extra fields and not understanding what they are? Like someone who might come in and not know what TDX is or AMD CCA or ARM CCA, they might not know. So wouldn't they want to be like, oh, this is for ARM. Oh, this is for Intel.
Mhm. No, you got a point. I mean, I don't
I
know.
I I remember that conversation and I don't think anything was decided yet. So I guess I can just put that on the back burner and wait for next week when everybody's back.
Yeah. Again, as a practical thing, maybe we should just admit that, I mean, those APIs are going to change, right? And then, I mean, tag them, classify them as experimental. Don't build a billion-dollar business on top of them just yet, because we concede ourselves the choice of changing them at any time, right? And run with that for a while, because I guess what will be unproductive here is us being this, I mean, indecision paralysis, right? For a couple more months, right? We just need something going, and then we can go back and refactor, right, if necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
I would
So
also want to add, like, if you like, if we don't think like the TDX is too specific or something, it's normally pretty easy to keep it backward compatible. Like if TDX is specified, we know it's now the confidential compute field as well, right? We have more fields like this where we have other preferred ways now, but it's still pretty easy to keep them working. I wouldn't be too concerned about that.
what about like so would TDX ever have like additional features? Like so SEV has SEV SMP, but mapping some of the like options in SEV and SEV SMP don't match, especially when you're considering how it's going to map to the libvirt XML. Um, that's my only reasoning to ask maybe they should be split because some options on SEV will work and not work on SMP.
Yeah, so I personally think it makes sense because there's a huge difference if you're using SEV, SMP, or just SEV, right?
Right.
So at least for me, from a user perspective, they're completely different features.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. I'll probably update my PR for this then.
And I wanted to, like, I saw some fields here like QGS socket path and so on. I think there are things which should typically not be on the KubeVirt API. That's something which the infrastructure should just have ready for you. You may be able to configure it if you say, like, you want to, if we decide to have attestation outside of KubeVirt completely the stack and need a communication path, then that should be probably something which you can configure on the KubeVirt setup part, like the KubeVirt custom resource, but not on VMs.
Okay. Yeah. I think I understand what you're saying. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Okay. So I'll leave the floor open for anything else before I close this out. Uh, going once, going twice. All right. Thank you guys for joining. I think everything will go back to normal next week. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Ellen, for hosting it.
Yeah,
Bye.
no problem. See you.
Thank you. Bye.